What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Crazy for KV's RC. I'm Tim. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll jump right into it. So today we're going to be doing some upgrades to the TRX-4M, a little Traxxas 18 scale crawler. If you guys saw the first video, just kind of running footage, kind of walked you through what I have done to it. Quick recap. I've got Traxxas's plastic method beadlocks, their Baja Pro X's. I've got their brass front rings, metal hexes, the slow gear transmission conversion, like crawler gears. I did the light kit, and it's not really performance based. And other than that, that is it. Now, one of my biggest complaints in that first video was that I think the steering servo was just pretty underpowered. So in that video I kind of polled the audience and only had one response, so we're gonna go with his response, and I appreciate the feedback. I was asking, should I put the EcoPower 640T, which is a direct drop-in. You get about almost 100% more steering power. I think you go from 30-ish ounce inches to about the 60 mark, and I also had a Reefs 99 micro laying around. So he said, just put the best one in there if you have it. So we're going to roll with that. 99 micro. I think on 6 volts you get about 80, maybe 85 ounce inches. So almost triple what I have now. We're going to go ahead and do like a baseline. I'll show you guys the steering speed, the steering power. It is strong enough, sitting on my workbench and even on most, surfaces that I actually crawl on. But if you get a little bit of weight, if you're kind of angled down, extra weight on the front wheels, or get it kind of bound up on a high traction area with these tires, those brass rings in the front, it doesn't really want to turn the wheels, and it actually will just, completely stop working. So we're gonna go to something stronger, and we're gonna use the Reefs 99 micro, brand new, never been used. In addition to that, if you go with a size like that, you will need an adapter, and I've got one from DSM Off-Road. Not too bad, just a standard micro servo adapter. I think they get like 12 to 15 bucks for one of those. SLS 3D printed, looks nice. We'll see how the installation goes, and I will report back. Additionally, while I'm working on the truck, we're gonna go ahead and throw in a new motor. We're just gonna hit them both, and after that I think I probably won't really touch this thing unless I find like major flaws or small tweaks here and there. But I think new motor and new steering servo will do this thing quite well. So for our motor, we're going to go with a Holmes Hobby. This is the Torquemaster Mini series. This is a TRX-4M direct drop-in. It's a 180 size motor, plugs right into the stock ESC. He's already got a pinion gear on there. And according to John Holmes, if you watch his channel, if you don't, you should check it out. There's a lot of really good technical data involving motors, and he does a lot of pretty good explanations on, preferable setups, according to how he designs the motors. But according to him, if you put the slower gears in, this is kind of the better motor. It's a little bit faster. The stock motor is an 87 turn. He sells that motor. So he kind of lays out two options. Either you leave those factory gears in and you go with the 87 turn, the slower motor, or if you put the slow speed crawler gears, get better reduction, you can go with the faster motor. And he said it should get you back to roughly factory wheel speed, because it is very, very slow right now. I don't have a way to actually show you guys real RPM, but we'll stick a piece of tape on the tire. I'll show you guys wheel speed, and we'll do a side-by-side comparison of stock motor versus this one, and then we'll also test the new servo. So let's go ahead and show you guys the the stock wheel speed, the stock servo power and speed, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do the install, and we'll come back here. All right, guys, so we got the battery all hooked up. You can see the lights on there. We got steering power, so I'm just gonna go max speed and show you guys how fast the servo is. It's all right. Like I said, it gets it done on this service. This is pretty slick though. It's like a cutting mat. But like I said, it gets the job done here, but not quite enough on the rocks. I'm a firm believer there really is no such thing as too much steering power. There's potential to, break horns or links or things like that. But if we need to upgrade that stuff down the line, we will. All right, guys. So we got the Broncos just set up on a little makeshift car stand, and we're just going to show off the wheel speed. This is stock motor, crawling gear ratio in the transmission. So give her full throttle. Pretty blistering. We'll go minimum speed that I can actually get the motor to turn consistently too. So that's about it right there. Not too bad. For a vehicle this small, I'd actually like to see it a hair slower. That's probably the ESC, and I don't expect it to improve a whole lot, but there's our full throttle again, and we're going to do a comparison with the Holmes Torquemaster Mini here in just a second. So go ahead and show you guys what you get in the package. You get a motor, you get a pinion gear that's already installed, and it's just got 2 wires. It's brushed, so it doesn't matter. You can plug it in backwards. If your wheels go in reverse when you hit forward, just switch the wires around. They are marked positive and negative, so you could trace the wires, but the ends are not terminated in a different color. The detents feel really good. It's kind of hard to illustrate it, but feels strong. Usually that's a pretty good indicator of a nice torque producing motor. Not always though. Some of the ones are just much smoother. So, but I'm excited. We're going to go ahead and get that servo put in, get this motor put in. The bummer of these is you have to take the transmission apart to switch out a motor. Just the design. Kind of a flaw in this TRX-4M, but pretty easy to get them out, so shouldn't take too long. You guys are going to get hit with a time lapse here while I work on it, and be back shortly. All right, everyone, I just want to use this opportunity to show you, if you guys saw my tool video, I just kind of cobbled together this servo tester. I bought this on Amazon. I think I paid like a couple of bucks for, 2 or 3 of them. And I actually the hot glue just came off. I think I'll use some servo tape next. But I just put it on this little 4AA battery container. It's got a little switch, and it's a servo tester, servo centerer. So, especially on a vehicle this small, you get your servo down in there, and you may have a hard time actually getting to the servo horn to tighten it up once it's all in there. So I pretty much want to do a one shot, get it center and put it in there, and then use my trim to get it, perfectly dialed. So there's 3 lights here. The first mode, it automatically defaults to is manual, so you can actually test the servo. And then if you hit it one more, it'll center it up. It goes to a neutral position, and that's all, pulse width modulation, fairly default what neutral is. So it's not perfect. They make way nicer ones of these, but this is, a little bit of solder, and maybe, $6-7 in parts, and you could probably have 2 of them. The AA batteries might be the most expensive part, but no need to buy a $20-$30 one. Just make one. Just wanted to share that with you. So now we got our servo centered up. I went ahead and cut one of these Reefs servo horns that comes with it. Oversight, a lot of project, a lot of stuff on my mind. Forgot to pick up a servo horn. So we're just going to use this, and it's actually pretty close to the stock Traxxas one in length. I think it'll be okay. I may just cut the excess off, and then use one of the interior holes, and we'll see if we can make it work, at least for the purpose of the video and the first test. I may just go ahead and buy a servo horn. All right, another update real quick while I got you. We have, this is the DSM off-road servo mount, and this is the factory one. So pretty much standard. I like the fact that they have multiple servo options on this. It's got 3 holes, so you could do a center mounted hole, or like the Reefs has the 2 ears per each side. So I was overthinking it. I was trying to put basically the body of the servo in through there, and it wouldn't fit. And kind of forgot that this sits, the servo sits up pretty high. There's still tabs on the front axle that interface with these holes, and then there's the front upper link mount. Kind of ties in all with the axle in here. So kind of a nice solution. Seems pretty easy. Doesn't need to be overly strong, but it is. It's SLS printed, so it should do just fine in something like this. If you put a ton of weight on this and take a pretty good tumble, the links could actually, I could see enough force being generated to break those tabs off. But with the 1 pound truck we have, I doubt that we're going to run into that issue. We'll go ahead and get the new adapter mounted up, and then we will put the servo in after. So get back to the time lapse. Pretty much got everything buttoned up. I don't have my servo horn attached just in case my centering tool didn't work, but we're going to go ahead and test it. So we're going to grab the battery here. Just going to set it right there. We're going to give it a plug in, and then our radio's already on. Servo looks very centered. I like that. We'll have to check endpoints. Doing endpoints on factory radios is never fun. But, yeah, the only issue really is this 99 micro wire just isn't long enough to be routed the same route as the old wire. Yeah, no big deal. There's slack in it. It's kind of tight, but when the suspension's compressed, it actually has more slack. So there's really no way it'll ever pull, so I'm not too worried about it. We're going to test motor direction, and then I will button it up, and then we'll come back and make sure that, oh, my motor's reversed. So I mentioned earlier, if that's the case, your motor wires are right here. It's kind of hard for me to show. So let's unplug it before we do that, just in case. The motor's got way more torque. I don't know if it has much more wheel speed, but yeah, we'll come back and we'll determine it. We'll do a side by side and see if we can tell. But yeah, we'll get back to it, and I'll see you guys once we're all buttoned up. All right, we got it buttoned up. We're just gonna go ahead and tuck the light kit plug up. We don't need that right now. We'll go ahead and test the motor first. Lots of power. All right, guys, we wrapped up the upgrades on the TRX-4, so I got it powered on. Go ahead and unplug that, but we'll wrap up, what I think of it. The DSM off-road upgrade. User error trying to get the servo installed into that. I was trying to put it in upside down. Fits perfectly. The SLS printed, you get pretty good bite on the screws. They do include some hardware. So you get a servo horn screw, and you also get 4 screws to actually attach the servo to that mount and adapter. But that was super easy. Just had to pull one wheel off, and then there's a long screw that holds the servo plate and the upper links for the front on. Getting the upper links back in there while the truck was basically all assembled was kind of tough. I commend people who work on these all the time because I got more frustrated in about 30 minutes trying to get those, tiny screws in places, and my fat fingers don't like to cooperate with them. But we got it. The motor seems really good. I think we got a little bit more wheel speed. Kind of hard to tell. I wish I had an RPM gauge, but in theory we should. We went from an 87 turn to a 66 turn, so it should be quite a bit better. Motor seems a little bit torqueier. Not super noticeable. Without going to a new ESC, probably not going to notice a whole lot of difference. But the steering servo power, especially the speed of it, much better. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the parts. The Torquemaster Mini went in super easy. I pulled the transmission, put the motor in probably 4 or 5 minutes. I knew how to do that because of putting the gears in, but if you do that and you haven't been in the gearbox yet, just pay attention. Make sure you don't, lose track of how the gears go in there, because it can take a minute to kind of figure out how they go back in there. Yeah, overall, the little Bronco's coming along. It's probably about where I want it. If I didn't put the light kit in it, I probably would go ahead and get some sort of ESC for this, but I think we're just going to leave it the way it is. I may go back to the 87 turn and see if we can get a little bit better low throttle response. It still takes quite a bit of throttle input to get the actual motor to move, and that's an ESC issue usually, but we can make it a little bit easier on the ESC if we go to that lower turn. But that's going to wrap up the benchtop portion of this, and the next video will be a short little running video. You guys can see, I just kind of wanted to walk through how to put the parts on. If I ran into any issues, especially with the DSM off-road adapter, but it all went smoothly, so no real updates. Get in there, don't be scared. The screws are small, the parts are small, but basically functions just like a 10 scale, and pretty easy to work on, especially compared to the smaller ones. And we'll get this out on the rocks very soon. And we'll see if these upgrades I made, the servo and the motor, made a noticeable difference to performance, and if there's anything else I want to do to this. Before you guys go, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.